Hey, everybody, my name is Josh, and I've got my finger on the pulse of music. Yeah, welcome back to this hot, balmy summer edition where we dive into the pool and listen to some Pool Kids by Pool Kids. Uh, it's funny because I do think that this might be kind of a sad album as far as like feeling the summer vibes goes, but I'm glad he could be with me today on the middle of April, smack in the middle of April. Looking forward to reacting to this one. Subscribe so you can get notified about the latest release, and we'll be back next week, so make sure that you can get that notification and you don't forget. Get your weekly dose of the pulse of music. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well at the Pulse of Music. I think there's periods in between the Pulse of Music, and you'll get to see my beautiful face more times than just once a week. So, how does it work? What are we doing today? We're reacting to this album. I'm gonna give you a little bit of an intro about the band, about Pool Kids, and kind of talk about this album, some tidbits that I picked up in some research, give you my relationship about them, so we're all on the same page about where my reactions are coming from. Then we're gonna listen. Simple as that. We're gonna listen track by track. And we're gonna give each track a rating. It'll either be a flat line, meaning it stunk. It'll be a resting heart rate, meaning it was pretty decent, or it'll be off the charts, meaning good golly, Miss Molly, I want another. And then, of course, at the end, we'll actually rate the album out of 10 and kind of wrap up the closing thoughts about it. Sound good? Awesome. Let's talk about Pool Kids. I love that name. I feel like it's so simple. Like it's not flashy. It evokes a very specific memory or a very specific image. At least for me, like I was a public pool kid. And I think that's what they mean when they talk about pool kids, where we would go to this public pool a couple times a year. The lucky ones would have the like summer pass where you could go as much as you wanted. And then you just like hang out at the pool all day and swim and kind of make your rivals and, you know, see what happened from there. It was a lot of fun times and a lot of interesting times to be a kid at the public pool. But what about the band? Let's talk about the band. Pool Kids are a four-piece from Tallahassee, Florida. They are at 60.9 thousand monthly listeners on Spotify, which I believe that's our lowest that we've heard. So our least popular band, at least in terms of Spotify numbers, doesn't mean anything one way or the other as far as, you know, their quality, but interesting that they come in, you know, well below some of the other ones that we've listened to. They are signed to Skeletal Lightning Records, which is a new record label for me, and I think that's a pretty badass name. Before this album, this is their sophomore album, which was released in 2022. Their first album, their debut album, was called Music to Practice Safe Sex To. Great title. Great title of an album. That was in 2018, Music to Practice Safe Sex To. And while I didn't hear of Pool Kids this way, I think they may be most famous for Hayley Williams giving them a cosign on Instagram where she said, quote, "Pool Kids were exactly the sort of band Paramore wished they sounded like in the early 2000s," which is crazy because I don't think they sound alike at all. But that's pretty great shout out. And I think that because of Hayley's platform, put a lot of people onto Pool Kids in a cool way. I mean, any interview with them pretty much references that moment, either in an interview or in the narrative of the article. So obviously it's pretty significant culturally for her to give them that shout out. Let's talk about the album a little bit. So this was released July 22nd in 2022. Obviously you see there it's 12 songs, 46 minutes. Produced by Mike Vernon Davis, and don't have a lot about the history of the recording or the process of it, but I do have a couple quotes that I want to throw at you. first one is a really interesting aspect of how they are as a band. I have, apart from a brief 6-month window when Pool Kids first started out, the 4 members of the group have never lived in the same city, which is like, how is that possible? It says Christine lives in Miami, Nicolette moved to New Hampshire, Caden lives in Pittsburgh, and Andy is based in Florida. So at least they're all in the same time zone, but like, how do you write albums, especially albums that are as technical as I think this is going to be, or at least as intricate? How do you do that from so far apart? Like that's insane. I also learned that everyone flew into Chicago to run marathon practice sessions before they go on tour, which, I mean, that sounds like a blast, but that also sounds really challenging as far as keeping a band together and having momentum. Let's talk about the artwork. You can see it up here. The artwork, it's obviously it's a rainbow and there's clouds around it. I don't have any quotes about what it means, but I think it's one of those images for me where it's like a ray of hope. Is it a ray of hope in the darkness, or is it the clouds coming along to cover up something hopeful and beautiful? I don't know. Maybe it's both. Could be either. That's going to be the journey of the album, I think. It's also interesting to me that this is a self-titled album. I feel like it's always a bold swing when a band creates a self-titled album. It's sort of, I think of it as like trying to make their definitive identity piece, a piece saying, this is who we are. This is what you should identify us with. And this is only their sophomore album, so we'll see if this is their sort of like quintessential sound over time, I guess. And then on the meaning of this album, it sounds like it's going to punch me right in the gut. So I have a quote from Christine, the vocalist. She says it's about a, quote, mutual painful breakup where you still love each other. Not every breakup is I hate you, you suck, or I'm sad, I don't want you to leave. With the record going back and forth over the decision, trying to make yourself grow apart, but also wanting to get back together. And I think that's a really exciting theme for an album. It's really emotionally rich, and as sort of transition into my relationship with the band, that's literally what I'm going through at this moment, is this sort of amicable mutual breakup where we both really deeply care about each other and still love each other very much, but are trying to separate our lives. So this one might hit a bit close to home for me. We shall see, but I'm on high alert. The last thing I want to mention about this album specifically is that it sounds like they could have taken a more technical direction, and instead they've gone the opposite, or at least have focused on the opposite. So Christine, the vocalist, says learning how to write a chorus is the hardest thing this band has ever done, which is a great quote, because choruses are often the first thing some bands think of. You know, it's certainly the thing that sticks the most into all of our minds. And for them, this is like new territory for them, writing songs with choruses. And that makes me really excited, because as far as my relationship with this band, I have no idea where I first heard of them. I have like basically no relationship with this band. I think I only heard of them because they were doing the tour with Military Gun and Spiritual Cramp last year. And I did Military Gun as a test stream, like before this channel went live. But I'd never heard of them. So I was like, okay, I got to listen to them eventually. And they just like landed on my backlog of artists. And of course, I'm seeing Arm's Length, Carly Cosgrove, Saturdays at Your Place, and Ben Quad this week, which is such a great tour, at least as far as a lineup goes. So I wanted to squeeze something a little more Midwest emo adjacent into this, into the stream, and it felt appropriate. Also, my good friend Devin, shout out to Devin, said that this was the best album of 2022. So It's pretty high praise. I feel like I put a lot of stock into his recommendations. So, Devin, you're on the hook. And yeah, I found them to be. I listened to their first album, Music to Practice Safe Sex To. What a great title. I listened to the first album in preparation for this, and it was very pleasant and technical without being, too kind of inaccessible. And it reminded me a little bit of Covet and Sweet Pill, at least as far as like the balance of emotion and technicality. And I would say it wasn't terribly catchy, at least on first listen. I only gave it one listen, so I'm coming into this real fresh, and that's why I'm so excited. Because if their thesis statement for this band is we're gonna make it have choruses and something that sticks in your head a little bit more, sign me up, because I think the template is there. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's dive in. Well, before we do have a tradition on this channel of picking the best song off the track list. So if you're watching, throw it in the chat. Um, there's some good titles here. I like That's Physics Baby as a title. I mean, Conscious Uncoupling is a good title as well. I Hope You're Right sticks out to me, and then Arm's Length, because that's a band that I like a lot, but not in any particular way otherwise. I'm gonna go with one of these explicit tracks because it feels like, and based on the plays, I assume That's Physics Baby is a single, but based on just out on a complete whim, I'm gonna go with Swallow, kind of visceral sound. I'm gonna think that's gonna be the track that sticks on this one. So, that being said, let's start it off with Conscious Uncoupling from Pool Kids by Pool Kids. Yep, that's pretty close to home. Ah, already so melodic. Right, pick it up. Right. What a start. Conscious uncoupling. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I really liked it. I do think that that's arresting. I think that that's like a great way to start, but I'm ready. I'm ready for more. You know, I think this is laying a great foundation. I think there's some beautiful guitar tones, especially in the beginning, those like shimmering like curtains of sound. Really exciting. And the lyrics are so like evocative. You know, everything from I'm probably never going to see your mom again, which is like absolutely a thought that you have when you're going through these breakups. Um, just kind of like pops into your head, and just like yeah, in the song, it doesn't linger on that idea. It just kind of like bing, bing, bing. These thoughts are popping up randomly throughout the day, like they might. Um, and then it's got such a balance lyrically of the like fuck you, how dare you, you know, get out of my house, we've got nothing left to talk about. And then of course you still have time to take it back, just take it back. It really captures that feeling that we were describing in the intro, that feeling of like I love this person but also like how dare they, and how what are you supposed to do in these moments. The bass had a nice presence in this track too. Piano shows up in just like a brief moment, and has a nice build to it. It's like sweet and vicious all at once. I feel like um, this is a trap. This band is going to trap me. There's a thing that critics do where, you know, a female fronted band will just get compared to other female fronted bands just because people hear like that's a lady voice and that's the only thing I can think of that sounds like a lady voice. And I think I'm gonna fall into that trap a bit in today, so forgive me. But you know, the new Lizzie McAlpine album just came out too, and I haven't really listened to it yet, but I do think that there's like touches lyrically. I can kind of feel that sort of like um the painting a picture metaphorically of some of these emotions. The idea that house with the weeds, for instance, uh, took me to that place, and I'm really excited to see the lyrics develop. Let's keep going. Let's go to number 2. That's physics, baby. Oh, hey, thank you, Mackenzie. That was the first subscription I've ever gotten on this channel live. Nice to see that the thing works. The freaking alert thing works. That's cool. I hope it's not a million decibels too loud. If it is, let me know in the chat because that's not something that we've experienced yet. So celebrate for that. Let's move on. Let's go to That's Physics, baby. Already makes you want to dance, right? Ooh. Nice. I'm glad. No sound in the video. That's weird. Let me see what I can do. It's the first time that's happened, so that's interesting. Give me let me restart Spotify after this song is all done. And if that can't do it, then I don't know what to do. Fix it? Nice. Tech support. That song might as well have just been called That's Tech Support, baby. Because I probably only really captured 30% of it in my head as I was trying to diagnose that issue. Yeah, that Hayley Williams quote, I gave that in the very, very beginning too. My little research. I feel like it's definitely apt. There's the chorus showing up. That's the choruses they talked about that they said this is going to be so hard to write. They couldn't figure out how to write choruses. We finally found a definitive chorus. And it's so satisfying to me. I don't know. This is at once like dancey and accessible, but still has the very like twinkly and kind of technical guitar runs throughout. That I do find that like there's a fine line with those guitar riffs, and I think Pool Kids is on the right side of that line. But when a band goes too technical or something that's too intricate, it just starts to kind of like sound a little bit like noise. And a lot of bands that I listen to are very guilty of that. I definitely had a big Swancore phase, and I feel like that's the wheedly guitars are very hard to pick apart sometimes. Bands like this, like Pool Kids, so far it feels like it's like just enough where it becomes this texture, but then it's also like it plays with the tone of the song in a nice way, and it's kind of easy to have it latch into your head, at least for someone like me who's kind of used to listening for those sorts of things. So rating wise, I think weirdly, I think well, maybe it's not weird. I'm going to give it a resting. I was going to say I preferred the first song, but I think this song never had a chance. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this after it's all over, because this is all OBS, going through OBS settings as far as listening to the song goes, other than the beginning and the end. So definitely needs a second listen. But now that we've got it running, we're all listening to the same stuff. Let's go forward. Almost always better, almost always worse. I still think about what you said. I still hear it ring in my head. I'm counting the colors I haven't bled, warming the lives I haven't shed. Welcome aboard, Mike. You and me both.
when I'm feeling fine. Resurface the mental dichotomy
It's so dissonant.
of what's ahead or in front of me. The face you make
Uncomfortable.
when I humor you. The space I take when I fill a room. Overstimulation without hesitation. I'm running in circles around
Just like very slight echoes distantly in the mix. It's disco.
I still think about what you said. I still hear it ring in my head. I'm watching your colors in infrared, playing you like a marionette. Again,
Such a different color from the first two tracks. So many bands. Swimming in that pool of sound.
That's the sound of me minding my own damn business. Yeah, do you hear that? That's the sound of me taking my own advice. But I could take rope and run it through the spaces in your mind and pull it tight as I could. Way down with all the asphalt pumping through my veins. Only if you look, 'cause I like you. I really like you. So I'll spare you. I'll spare you the details. Again.
Yeah. Oh man, that gets that's first off the charts of the album for me. I think it is so uncomfortable. That dissonance in there. It honestly reminds me of Buckethead, the guitarist. Like he's got so many of these super dissonant chromatic riffs that like sound kind of awful, but in like emotional impact can be really strong. They're not always that emotional with him. It's a little bit more technical, but in this song, smashing things like the prettiness of I like you, I really like you, and it's kind of like almost maybe the most accessible that they could possibly sound, next to those extremely like angular, dissonant, challenging riffs and harmonies. It's so interesting to me. It's like it's really exciting sonically, and it feels like the instrumentation mirroring the emotions here, which is again this like push and pull between the end of this relationship, which continues to work for me lyrically. So yeah, keep it running. It looked like it was going to transition smoothly from one song to the next, so let's like try to make that happen. Yep. Love a little cross transition like that. For a second, I thought that was part of the song again. I was like, no way.
Do you remember the things I used to tell you?
Whoa. Fully thought we were building. I'm not mad about it. It's like the hardest they've sounded so far. Just immediately, totally different direction. Yeah, that's definitely the one sentence summary, I would say. Oh man, I really admire the production choices on this album too. So just the way right there at the end, like it sort of was all down tuning. It was all fading down. And then this fake out, there's this fake build that totally got me, where it felt like it was starting to propel forward, but instead it kind of like did the, what is that called? Like, oh my God, back when I sang choir, I feel like I knew the term for it, but where it's like the PFP, piano forte, piano, you kind of, it's not just a crescendo, it's a other thing. You get really loud really quick and then pull back immediately. I loved it. I love that build, that fake build in there. And then, yeah, it's like started to get the most distorted guitar so far. I'm starting to struggle to pick up the like specifics of the lyrics, not in a bad way, not in a way that I blame on Pool Kids, but the way that I blame on my ability or inability thereof to process lyrics on the fly like that while I'm listening to things. Still the imagery is really exciting. Like even the end, this like, does it feel weird to have yourself up against a wall, but then immediately coming in to say 3 lines later, I might listen through the wall. I think that's both literal and metaphorical in an exciting way of like the wall that you're up against, someone on the other side is leaning into and listening. That's like really evocative lyrically. And a quick shout out to song length. Something I harp on a lot here, but like for a band that's doing such progressive things musically with these like varied sections and like, you know, non-intuitive song structures, they're still coming in at under 3.5 minutes, which is like not at all what a lot of progressive bands choose to do. So for me, I think that's an off the charts as well. I think I'm just really, really excited by the imagery and that, and like the surprise element still. Nice. Let's move on. Let's go to Talk Too Much, rather.
You talk too much. I can't hear my own thoughts over your performative opinions. I'll take it up with all your little minions, 'cause they're afraid
sounds. This could just be on the radio. Other than saying fuck, this is radio ready. This is definitely the first song that's, to me, 100% makes sense why Hayley Williams said what she said. This is to a T. I can understand that. What an ominous ending lyric. Yeah, man, that's an off the charts. Oh well, I just immediately took it away, but that's an off the charts for me. So exciting. I think that also gets the coveted like add to playlist right now. So catchy, Mike. I totally agree. It's radio ready. It's maybe a little long, but it's not to me. Just so ready. And these little like phrases too. Little minions is like such a fun phrase in that. Devin really loves the cleverness of and people like you, because people like you, they know how to get what they want. Yeah. And it's almost like a double entendre between like whether it's the people doing the liking of the person or people similar to the subject, which is super fun. Double talk in there. This is I said at the beginning, but that Pool Kids, the singer trying to find the quotes here. The singer Christine said that learning how to write a chorus is the hardest thing this band has done. And she also said, we don't want to be just a math rock band that only other musicians like, instead of asking, or rather, sorry, cut, try again, take two. We don't want to be just a math rock band that only other musicians like. Instead of asking, how can I make this more technical? Now I'm trying to ask myself, how can I make this more catchy? I'm less concerned about proving myself as a woman guitarist. I've proved myself enough, which is so badass, because in music, it's so easy for it to be an arms race to make the heaviest, the most technical, the most impressive whatever, especially whenever you have the chops like these guys do, and instead dialing that back and aiming for something that stays true to yourself, but like a little bit more accessible and poppy and catchy. This song exemplifies that to me, and it goes from kind of the around the line that Devin was talking about, where it's like melancholy, it's mostly spite, and then like wavers into melancholy, and then slams right back into this sort of like spiteful feeling. Again, capturing these like awesome emotions, really strong colors in this like breakup scenario that Christine described in the beginning. Let's check out Comes in Waves, track 6, The Halfway Point.
I can lie too. I know you don't think I have it in me, but what if I do? Woke up feeling like myself today. For a minute there, I couldn't tell who's who. I've said it once to you before, and I'll say it all again, real slow this time. I won't miss losing out on what I never tried to find. It comes in waves. It comes in waves. And what about you? I'll bet you didn't think we'd make it this far, but we've made do. Sometimes I wonder if you're boring, but you know I
when the bass
only
shows
ask
up.
it out of spite, 'cause I can't sleep without a fight. I'll keep the peace and hold it in. Yeah, I learned it from the best. I'll let you keep your space, or maybe I call the shots until you pass my stupid little test, and then I store it for later. It comes in waves.
Fade in the sound, like you're floating.
It just comes in waves. I own the dirt that keeps them buried in the layers of the earth. The searing bulb, the praise they never see the natural sun. I am the green of every sepal, holding
Vocabulary check.
blossoms shut. What
the hell's a sepal? I have an answer.
They look so precious, but only by my side. I don't know why. Tell me now what's on
Thank you. Casey. Now we can all learn together. I'm just gonna read it off in the interval, but it's even better. Yeah, so sepal just helps carry through the flower, the sort of like the flower and blooming metaphor here. We feels like we learn a new word every week. Couldn't tell you what it was last week. Something about a shadow, some synonym for shadow. I think Alpha Wolf used. In retrospect, kind of surprising that there was anything that they any word that they could use that we didn't know, but shots fired. Yeah, I thought this was super fun too. This is I feel like I got to give it another off the charts. I'm really digging this. I wish I could make those a little bit more like precious, but they're just not. It's so fun. The bath of sound for waves. I was just like, it's so pretty. It's so pretty, and just hang out in that tone for minutes. And lyrically, this like starting off with maybe framing some things as a lie in this song too. Like that's an interesting conceit. Definitely like the most metaphorical. Like, I mean, straight up just like saying, I am the dirt, and then going on and on about the bulbs and the sepals and the stems. Really developing that image that's maybe feels like a little bit new for this album. And it's it's maybe not quite as exciting as maybe Almost Always Better, Almost Always Worse to me, the Real Dissonant one, and it's not quite as catchy as Talk Too Much. So it's sort of like sits a little bit below those songs to me in my mind, but it's hard to name a more beautiful moment than when we return to that waves part. Let's see where we go from here. We got I Hope You're Right. And if you've got a favorite song so far, throw that in the chat, because now we're past the halfway point. We're in the home stretch. Back half, is this a back half album or a front half album? Is it both? Let's find out. God, it is so hot in my house right now. I swear to God. Got lights don't help, but thank God I'm wearing the pool inspired shirt, because started out wearing a black cotton shirt. Not today. Not today.
I've been avoiding this conversation. I don't want to ruin your reputation. I think you got a misdiagnosis. You just don't know what control is.
Great couplet.
You wanna make it right. You got me laughing now. You wanna make it right.
Really hard to use laughter
You just wanna
in a song.
You wanna start a fight. 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 'Cause you're always right where you wanna be.
Shredding, baby. Okay, this is another one that's going to go right into the next song, but we're pausing it. Yeah, I mean, for me, this was like hovering in between the two, but I feel like it ended so fun with this, with the shred, that I got it. I mean, it was so delightful. It's an off the charts for me as well. Super catchy, arguably the catchiest because it's got like the fewest words, even more than Talk Too Much. This is the one that, between the laughing and the start a fight, that people are going to be able to latch onto live and sing, even if they have never heard of this band before. And I always think that that's a fun thing for seeing artists if you're unfamiliar with them. It also feels like heavier just in general, like not just the guitar tones, but just like it's got like a menacing lyrics aside, has like a menacing sound that's I feel like a really fun note to be playing too. Their layered vocals are always hitting for me. It just sounds, between the harmonies and just like the way that it adds this sort of like weight to it. It makes it both like more pleasant and more poignant, and I'm really into that. The sort of whispery vocals here at the end, you know, I'm not stupid, there's just still so much left to undo. Stuck out like production wise in like a really interesting way, where it sounded like it was almost half sung, and that adds to that bedroom pop feeling I think that you're talking about, Mike. But it's just like had this really like personal touch to it, almost like someone like lying on the ground kind of like talking to themselves. And I think the Thorn in Your Ass Now made me laugh, because that just feels a little bit more blunt than some of these lyrics that we've been getting recently. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I really, really dig that as well. So let's back it up a little bit and take it from I Hope You're Right into a song I predicted would be the best or my favorite, which is Swallow, one of the two explicit tracks. Let's find out. Interesting treble. I really like that riff. Detect a little phaser on that bass, or flanger or something.
You always told me I'd get over it. I always said that you were wrong. I'm disappointed but not surprised. Some kind of quick-witted monologue. You said that you could almost picture
It's like ominous.
it, but it's not smart to share words.
And there's that explicit lyrics. There's why it's tagged.
And when I said I would consider it, I was lying through my teeth.
Ooh, that just sounds good.
Can't put my finger on it. Don't know what makes it so appealing. I'm not begging for your affection. I'm just addicted to the feeling. I think I'm slowing down. My feet are slipping now. You seem and I know how. Our attempts to flicker out. I was there when
vocoder. Oh, Devin's talking all the time signatures. Totally agree. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's an off the charts. I might have nailed it again where that's definitely among my favorites. Is it my actual favorite? I don't know. I'm going to have to give this whole thing another listen, but oh, that's up there. That beginning, the first 4 or 5 lines of this, but it's like the first minute-ish of the song, kind of like the stop start between the instruments and the voice. So exciting, really just like made me lean in with like interest and curiosity. And then Devin shouted out that other part transitioning from 7/4 to 4/4 towards the end of here, where it's sort of like it's got this like 7/4 section has sort of like droning sort of it feels like a droning circular feeling to me, and then we sort of slam into more traditional song structure. Love I like really do appreciate when there's the crudeness that shows up too. It's not smart to shit where you eat. It sticks out because this band doesn't seem to have it seemed to be not so like colloquial at times. But it really I really do like it. It just like shocks me. And then the vocoder section, the use of the vocoder is so, I'm a sucker for a vocoder. I mean, it's just like, it's so satisfying. Really, really into that. And the imagery and lyrics, obviously, we're talking about this breakup. We're really getting to the point of, starting to imagine letting this person go. And this, thing, I thought about bringing you flowers to try to turn it around, gave up and stood in the shower. I'll make do with or without. It's like, it feels like there's a beginning of letting go mixed with all the other, like the challenges of knowing that it's like not possible or it's not in the cards. How the fuck am I convincing you is also such a gut punch of a line through it. And kind of like the image too of wanting to keep tabs on that person, keep tabs on that ex is I think something that we all have done in some form or another, but make out all the vowels. What a great way to envision someone doing that. All right, well, it's all downhill from here. If that was the best song ever. So Couch is next.
I guess I'm staying on the couch today. I guess you're making all the rules. I'll take a push, but you give a shove, and I'm getting weaker by the day. I've always been the one to hesitate. I guess it started getting old. 'Cause I'm moving slow and I'm feeling gross, and we're getting staler by the day. Better luck next time. You gotta know by now. We're walking on a thin line. Pulling out close. You sweat in your sleep.
It's so hard to predict what's coming next sonically.
In the back of your feet. It hurt so bad that the second said I'd do this when I'm mad. You said I'd do this when I'm mad. You said
It's like
I'd
the
do this
quietest
when
bass
I'm
drum.
I guess I'm bad. You're pulling out clumps. You're sweating your sleep. You're starting to wake in the back of your feet.
Nice. Yeah, okay. Okay. I think in comparison to the rest of the album, for me that one's arresting. It's didn't knock me off my feet like so many of the other tracks did. But definitely like, capturing that feeling of being out of control in the beginning about with the staying on the couch imagery. Shout out to the producer who I mentioned before, whose name is Mike Vernon Davis. I feel like Mike Vernon Davis doing a great job with this. There's throughout the whole album, there's so many different guitar tone driven transitions. And they all sound great without being overwrought. And then there's these little touches here, like the quietest bass drum ever, when it gets pulled back, that I don't think I would notice if I was listening not on headphones, but like on headphones. These great little touches that really just add like thickness and storytelling. Honestly, like as these sections weave one way from one to the next, the bass carrying a lot of melodic weight throughout some of these tracks, and really sounding quite good. Also, gotta give a shout out to the drummer. Really noticing the drummer on this track in a good way, whose name is Caden Clinton, because shout out to them. It feels like the drums are like just present enough. If anything, they're a little bit less present than I care for. I almost want them to be a little bit more dialed up in the mix, but I do think that it's probably correct the way it is, because there's like a decent amount of, showing off like a lot of fills. I really enjoyed some of the I think it was like hi-hat work on this track that I think, because it's pulled back, feels like it feels not overwrought. Like I mentioned before, it feels like it's just enough of a tone and color without completely absolutely blowing away the rest of the instruments. It's a very delicate band as far as like the way these sections need to be stacked on top of each other. So the drums being a little bit further back than maybe I would expect probably helps with that. But just enough like technicality for my taste with the drum fills throughout, and I think that's really rad. Very easy for a drummer to kind of like hit the hell out of things and go nuts. And I'm hoping that I think there may have already been a couple sections like that, but I'm hoping that there's more to come where it makes sense. And in the meantime, really digging it. So heading into the end of this album here, track 10, Waking Up. Let's go. So I assume that's we fell asleep on the couch and now we're waking up.
Staring back at me, I hear your voice in every mouth, rearranging things. Their words are different, but they still sound the same. And they bruise in the same way.
Very disorienting, like chimes.
So I keep shaking my head, digging it out, but I still see that look in their eyes. somebody like you completely. I think you know what I mean. You wake me up. I write it down and I see you next time. My eyelids get heavy.
You're double bass in that. Nice. That's arresting for me. Just doesn't stand out like as an individual track, but I think in context of the album, I really appreciate it, where it's like ethereal. And I think my takeaway is that this is like, I mean, this is true of the entire album, but this song specifically has me feeling that this is like, the whole thing is a lot more emotionally intense than I was kind of prepared for. You know, I talked about what it was about in the beginning. And I guess like, you know, going through something similar right now, it feels like there are like a ton of really intense emotions, obviously, but then there are also a lot of moments where, at least for me, the way that my situation is kind of unfolding is like moments of reflection, of being like grateful and being on at least this side of it, kind of more in the early-ish stages. It feels like really, it doesn't feel as fully baked emotionally. Nice, David. Hope we got 2 songs left, so get ready to vibe some more. But yeah, I just wasn't prepared for the like how intense these tracks are emotionally, and this one really hit me. These images, I won't come undone in front of you. I will wait until you've left the room. That idea, that feeling of like holding it together to present that you're doing okay with someone who hasn't seen you in a while, and then as soon as they're gone, you're like, okay, thank God, I can finally like break down. I need to come across as like put together, like they're not affecting me that much. That's like such a real thing. And tell me everything. If that sounds like the line, like the question that you're gonna ask whenever you see each other again. And for me, at least, there's maybe the sensation that like there's more to be told. So that's the phrase that you keep saying, is tell me everything. You know that maybe the two of you will never have that snapshot of everything from each other ever again. And yeah, God, I really appreciate how this is mining the depths of these emotions. So let's go on to Arm's Length, the penultimate track. Give it a play.
Hello. Recording with a microphone. Will it work? I don't know. Let's find out.
I don't think I have the energy to make it out of my
Interesting start.
bed today. It's not even a bed. I've been sleeping on an air mattress with a hole
much more.
It's
just more small moment than the rest of the album.
Sometimes it's nice to be left on red. Wait, no, it's not. I think I'm taking things too personally. When did I get so sensitive? I don't think I want to waste my day replaying all my past mistakes. It's a funny thing, selective memory. Flipping through the casualties. If you don't cancel on the count of three, you won't be looking too hard for me. I'm on damage control, got better parts to this whole. I just haven't left this room, and I don't know many reasons.
Yeah, right? Mike, that's what I'm saying. 21 friends. Oh. What a sweet synth.
I look a job where I swear to God they're setting the time when I take a bathroom break and I'm barely scraping minimum wage, and the things they have the audacity to ask of me, better catch up with them eventually. I'm begging, please, let it catch them eventually. I don't think you wanna challenge me like you tried to yesterday.
I love it when they have a
But I
chorus.
can't even pretend I considered every single word you said from beginning to end. And it's a sensitive subject, and you can act like you think you're so irrelevant. But I've got a foolproof plan, a prescription in hand, and you can call it what you want. You'll never be my referee. It's my last night in the city. Life taught me I'm an extrovert, and here I am spending it alone. Laying on a carpet floor, staring at a wall, listing off all of the places I would rather be. And it's my fault. I did this to myself. I crawled into a hole for 6 months and came creeping back out, expecting everything to be the same. And I got this pain, and you enabled it. So I guess I'll disappear again, 200 miles
Yeah, a lot of Midwestern influence, David, for sure.
Just like the last time, just like the last time. Arms length this time. Arms length, it's safer that way.
Well, they love doing that too. They love ending a line or a song with the without resolving the key that they're on. That's I'm liking that. Thanks, David, for the subscription. Hell yeah. I think that's an off the charts for me. I think I was a little hesitant in the beginning, and I gotta say I don't know that I fully understand the context of the microphone, the sample of the guy talking about it, like I'm speaking into a microphone now. Like, are we to believe that that's the person on the other side of the breakup? Maybe. I'm not quite sure. And then if it's like supposed to be kind of self-referential about the band, it just like doesn't land as like quirky or interesting to me. So that was like, felt like a bit of a false start, especially 11 tracks into the album where we hadn't like heard that before. But and I gotta say that the group chat with 21 people and the phone crashing, like it's so mundane in a way that a lot of the rest of the album is. I mean, there are mundane elements, right? Like the scenes of laying on a couch, but something about it just feels so much more blunt and like mundane and like kind of disconnected from the breakup story, at least enough. It's enough degrees removed from the breakup story directly that it sort of feels like, oh, this is a scene that I can just like latch on and immediately empathize with, regardless of the larger emotional context. And I don't know that I was into it, but it kept developing in such a great way. Like the minimum job, verse with a minimum wage job verse. I thought that was also pretty fun. There's like the synths and those little licks David was reacting to in there. The imagery of just let's just move, make some fake friends, and get a new job, like whatever, just start over somewhere else. God knows I've had that thought myself, like every year since the pandemic started, basically. But something tells me that the vocalist is not actually going to do that between this track and the next track. Yeah, really into it. I also, something I wanted to note is I don't have a quote for this. I didn't pull a quote for this, but it sounded like in an interview that I was reading, they were talking about their live performance. And the way that they described it almost made it sound like they play these songs like a lot more energetically or intensely. Like, I mean, there's a lot of energy in these tracks. This was definitely a little more energetic by default, but they made it sound like it's a really cathartic experience seeing them live, and that they almost like amp up the intensity and instrumentation. I'm sure they don't. I mean, maybe they travel with a synth and, you know, kind of pull off all the layering instrumentals, but there's only 4 of them, and one of them's got to sing. So this is all like adding up. My point is, it's all adding up in my mind to being like, what, this must be a hell of a live experience. Cause like there's so many, the production's doing a lot of work. They're clearly very talented. Someone's singing with all this. It shifts so much. And they talk about how they really purposefully dial up the intensity so that whenever you do sing along, it's like, feels like this big release. So I don't know. I think among those in the chat, I feel like Devin, Mackenzie, you guys may have been the only people who have seen them before, but I'm not sure if you have. If you have, let us know what that was like. And if you haven't, let's keep going. We're going to close out the album. One more till the end. Pathetic.
I almost went back on what I said.
Yeah, I would
I almost let you make me look
definitely really want to see these guys after this.
I can't decide if I'm glad that I brought it up, 'cause now I can't look you in the eye and tell you I'm alright. You said winter's coming and I'll have to hold you then. I almost bought a brand new king-size bed. I almost put together all the pieces of what you said. I can't decide if I'm the common denominator. Am I a fraction of the girl you thought that you had loved? 'Cause I am the center of my own world, and you had had enough. I can hear your voice from the other room, speaking slowly, slowly, slowly. You're afraid of it, I'm afraid of it too. Better off without me, and me without you.
uphill ass vocal right there.
Take your time with me, 'cause I remember every word. Take your time with me, 'cause I what can we make of
I don't know anything about the flood, so at the studio. No, I didn't. I don't have enough context to talk about it eloquently, but I will mention it briefly from what I can remember. Feel free to fill in the gaps. And of course, we're fading out. Powering down. Yeah. So this is another one where, like, as a song, that's arresting for me. But in the context of the album, I think it does its job really well. Considering that I'm relating to an awful lot about this album, I really wish there was a more definitive emotional arc, like a more definitive statement at the end of this, rather than fear and questions. But I think it's really strong to end something like this with such uncertainty. Devin says the final line, "What can we make of this?" was actually Christine asking if they could salvage it because it was on a hard drive on the floor. Oh, yeah. So the flood that Devin's referring to, I couldn't remember if that was about this album or the previous album, but I assume it's about this album since you're bringing it up here. Yeah, the studio that they were recording this in flooded, and it flooded like bad. Like it was, water was like pouring into the basement where all of their stuff, all their gear and studio equipment was. So they were like, they lost a bunch of gear and they were potentially losing like all the work that they had done around this album. And I mean, I don't really know. I can't recall like the outcome if they were ended up being, I mean, obviously they ended up making the album. So I can't recall like how big of a setback it ended up being in the end. But it makes sense that like, what can we make of this is kind of referencing a hard drive that would have potentially been destroyed and flooded. Portland, that would make sense with the rain. So yeah, it's that's such a shitty situation, especially for like a band that's so young and like not major label band. I mean, it would suck for a major label band as well, but you kind of presume that, you know, larger labels and corporations would be able to like help support bands like if that sort of thing happened, or potentially to have some sort of backup system where that wouldn't matter, or a better constructed studio where it wouldn't flood, things like that. But then obviously smaller bands, younger bands, less established bands don't have that sort of thing. So it could have been like the end of it all, or at least the end of this album session, that can kill a band. Andy's amp and the hard drive. I mean, the hard drive, clearly that was amps as can be replaced, guitars can be replaced. I mean, and they were able to take what really mattered in this case, which was the masters, presumably, or the some sort of recordings from the session. It's pretty wild. And I bet if they had a tour lined up, maybe there was a Military Gun tour lined up after this, that probably wasn't that exciting of a prospect, depending on how much time there was between finishing the album and going on tour. So, yeah, really quite the album, quite the end to an album. I think it's time to move into the overall review. I feel like I'm like this last track, like it's the track, it's the track itself, and it's the culmination of it all has me like in a funk, in like a positive way for the album, but it's just like kind of it feels like a weight, which is powerful but also challenging. So this was awesome. This was such a step up from music to practice safe sex to, in every way except the album title. I feel like I had really high hopes for this, both thanks to Devin's recommendation and based on kind of hearing their debut album and reading the interviews about this. It was like, yeah, if you can nail that, if you can nail this idea of a more accessible, kind of more accessible sound with choruses and aiming for catchiness being like a target, then I could see this being really good. And I mean, they aimed for it and they just nailed it right in the bullseye, because there's some incredibly catchy sections and tracks and really like powerful emotional lyrics that range from super pictures of super mundane scenarios through grandiose metaphors about flowers and buds, is the one that sticks out to me, through just like the the kind of like conscious ramblings about one's state, one's emotions, and it all works together. It captures the feelings, this feeling of a breakup where you still love the person incredibly well. The guitar tones shimmer, and the vocal harmonies and vocal layering is beautiful. And I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, happy birthday. Wow. Springtime, everybody. So yeah, it's these vocal lines that stack on top of each other feel both light and yet like thick and rich, and there are songs that make you want to move. There's songs that make you want to lie down and just like take on the weight of the world. There's classic Midwest emo kind of wheedly tweedly little licks here and there, but like it's still somehow accessible, and they function more as a flavor. There's all these little production choices that are almost like Easter eggs, the way that songs progress from one section to the other. It's really, really exciting. It feels like I talked about the self-titled album idea. This is going to be Pool Kids. I mean, it literally is their self-titled album. This is going to be their bar that they're going to have to clear with any future release. It's sweet and vicious and varied and beautiful and powerful, and it makes you want to sing along, makes you want to dance. I think this is really, really excellent, And for me, that makes it a 9.
Boom! There's the flavor.
Yeah. Not sure if anything could ever be a 10, but this one gets a 9 for me. I'm just remembering the moments of dissonance, like in the earlier tracks. I think it was the 3rd track or 4th track. Like, yeah, it's got these dissonant moments that are also so exciting. You never know where it's gonna go. From it, like within one song, you don't know where it's gonna go, but it doesn't feel. It's just jarring enough. It doesn't feel like jarring in the way that, like, Converge style metalcore set feels jarring. It's just more like unpredictable and exciting, and makes you just lust for the next section, the next track, and see where it's going to go. It's exciting. It's like a choose your own adventure book. Yeah, I really, really awesome stuff. So that was it. That was our adventure, our dive into the deep end of Pool Kids. Thanks so much for joining me on this one. Definitely a special one. Next week, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here. We're going to be going hard left turn, left, right turn. I don't know which direction's which. I guess that's my left. I don't know if it's your left, but hard left turn to listen to the new album as of Friday. It comes out on Friday. The new album by The Ghost Inside, Searching for Solace. That's one that I'm nervous about. My goal with this channel is really to listen to the best music possible. I don't want to listen to a bad album and shit on it. And I don't know that this will be a bad album next week or not. But they're undergoing a transition that I'm not sure that I really like. So we'll try to let that go. We'll try to come into it with an open mind, and we'll see how we feel about Searching for Solace next week, 8 p.m. And we'll find out together, and we'll cry together. We'll throw things together. We'll celebrate together. Maybe it won't be that bad. So like and subscribe if you haven't already, so that we can all be back here for that adventure. And yeah, thanks for joining today. It's a hot one. It's a scorcher. I feel like I'm excited for a nice big glass of water, sit by the pool, maybe revisit this immediately right after this again. It was so good. Thanks for joining. I'll see you again next week. As a reminder, my name is Josh, and I got my finger on the pulse of music. Catch you next time.